OTAs today. Joe Burrow had his hat knocked off by that weird-looking thing. Burrow's two favorite wide receivers not there. And Burrow recovering from a wrist injury, free to turn it loose. Not on a pitch count, according to Cincy's OC. Here's Joe's ups and downs season last year. First 4 games bad, but they're bad at the start of every year. But this was particularly bad. He couldn't throw the ball more than 15 yards effectively. Next 4 games, he's back to being the old Burrow. And then the next 2 games started showing up with wraps on his wrist. And we were like, what's up? He's like, by the way, season's over. So, Nick, what's at stake for Burrow this year?
So, I was thinking about Brew's SBOB list after the show yesterday, where I think you had the Bengals third. I think you had Chiefs, Niners, Bengals as the top 3. And I think you can make a real argument the Bengals could be number 1. You can make an argument they should be number 1. They definitely could be number 1. And I think Joe has, because he is, I still think right now, grandfathered into the, well, other than Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the league discussion, I think that if you were to do a straw poll of that, I think right now Josh Allen would get probably about 50% of the vote. I think Burrow would get probably 30%. Lamar would get 15%, and the rest of the league would get, it'd be a random C.J. Stroud, Aaron Rodgers
You'd
fans,
have Caleb.
whatever, Caleb Williams, there you go. But he hasn't produced on that level recently. He right now is still, in my opinion, living a bit off a game that he didn't play that well in, but his defense played brilliantly in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, and then a Super Bowl where he had a lot of chances to win and didn't, but nobody really holds it against him. And so here's the point I'm building to. If he plays excellent this year, then he stays exactly where he is. If he misses time, though, with an injury, Brew, if he does not look like the old Joe Burrow after a very rare for a quarterback hand injury, the list of quarterbacks who could jump him in the hierarchy, and you have, of course, Josh Allen, Lamar, and CJ. You also have, I don't believe it, Aaron Rodgers. You have Justin Herbert. You mentioned Caleb. You have Goff, who just got his money. Jordan Love, Bruce guy Brock Purdy, Matt Stafford. I haven't even mentioned the Prince, obvious. Like, there's a lot of guys. And because the further we get away from him beating Mahomes in that playoff game without seeing him do something similar, the less, because he doesn't have the wow of Lamar or Josh, and doesn't have any of the accomplishments of Mahomes.
Well, you were right not to mention the Prince, so good job there. But look, my only issue with Joe Burrow are the injuries. But it's becoming a big part of the story now. He's missed 15 games in 4 years. All right, he's missed large chunks of 2 seasons, and they're not like Lamar Jackson injuries. All right, these are things that are relatively serious injuries. And so, yeah, this is a huge year for him. Last year when he played, I get it, he wasn't really himself early on, whether it was rust or just the injury. He came on and showed us who he is and played much better. Look, and I was thinking about the SBOB list yesterday as I was putting this together. I actually think I could have maybe switched them in Baltimore rather than putting Cincinnati first or moving them up as you want to. But because if he gets to the AFC Championship and loses to Mahomes, no one's killing Joe Burrow for that.
No, but then it just feels like the one time he beat him was a fluke.
Well, okay, fine, but he's still where everybody else is and arguably the second best quarterback in the league.
Just because you don't do something at a high volume doesn't make it a fluke. If you roll a dice, he's a gambler. He understands odds. If you roll a die, a 6-sided die, and it comes up one, and you roll the another 5 times and 1 doesn't show up, does that mean that it was a fluke? That the 1 came up? So that doesn't make sense. He always wants to do this to elevate Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, which is just an insane thing to do. Him beating Patrick Mahomes, and in any of the playoff games that he's played, he's proven that he is an elite top-tier quarterback, without a doubt. And now he's run into problems, injury problems, potentially roster problems. Like his career and season and the Bengals organization as a whole has not been going to plan. Not to mention, let's not pretend like that coaching staff, don't get me wrong, I think the coaching staff is pretty good, but let's not act like it's on par with Shanahan, McVay, Andy Reid, etc. So, again, some grace needs to be given.
If he loses to anybody else, if they lose to C.J. Stroud and the Texans, if he loses to Lamar, if he loses to Josh Allen or somebody, then it will feel like he and the Bengals are going backwards. It will, like they've taken a step back. So that's what I think is on the line for him.
Here's the Bengals schedule. You want to do a pop quiz, fellas?
Sure.
10.5 wins here. Nick, do you like the over or do you like the under?
All right. I mean, this is
Pop quiz.
In real time. I mean, I would say the under. Barely, but I would say the under. I think they're in the toughest division in the league. I think that the Hendrickson, T. Higgins stuff is a real, you know what I mean, a legitimate concern.
As long as they're healthy.
And historically, they start slow.
Didn't they only win 10 the year they went to?
Okay. They can beat the Patriots, the Commanders, the Panthers, the Giants. I'm just doing like guaranteed wins the way I see it. The Browns. That's 5 right there. See them beating the Raiders. The Chargers are going to be interesting, so let's just skip that one for now. Wait, so I already did the 5, 6, 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So then let's just skip to the Steelers, and that'll be 7, Cowboys 8, Titans 9, Browns again. I think they'll sweep the Browns, and then there you go. Then you have this. Then you have to choose between the Steelers. So yeah, absolutely. And again, I was just doing games that I think are pretty much like guaranteed wins. The Patriots, the Washington Commanders, the Panthers, the Giants, the Browns, the Raiders. Again, it'll be interesting to see what the Chargers look like. I think they are definitely going to at least beat the Steelers once. I think they beat the Cowboys. I think they beat the Texans. Again, they're going to at least beat the Browns once, if not go 2-0. And then the Broncos, it'll be really interesting to see what the heck their roster is. Bo Nix playing? Is he not? What's going on? And then there you go. Boom. Over.
To the Super Bowl.
I believe, that sounds right. And then can I say one other thing that I think I want to do a blind stat reveal? Ooh. These are 3 quarterbacks who have all either played 7 or 8 playoff games, okay? So the touchdown interception ratio numbers are at the top.
These are so
the yards per game you see, passer rating you see, and the completion percentage is all very similar. I don't know if one of those guys jumps out to you as the least impressive. One does to me.
This is tricky because the silhouettes. This is sad.
Right. So we can now reveal those 3
Is
guys.
that Burrow the first? Oh, Dak?
Burrow's the last one.
Right.
And so here.
Imagine thinking Dak is even remotely up there with Stafford and Burrow. This chart right here is all the proof you need to know about how important it is to not just look at stats and nothing else. Because no one in their right mind, first off, a bunch of Dak's stats and numbers are in like a blow. Just his last game against the Packers alone, he was able to boost up his total yards and touchdowns and passing and all this in a blowout game that he played awful in. But that definitely boosts up his stats. It definitely does. It'll definitely boost up his touchdown to interception ratio, his passing yards per game, even his rating. So that's just nonsense. Just absolute nonsense.
Here's why I mention it. Burrow's real NFL kind of claim to. I knew you were gonna but that's why I did it.
Dak is like, let me pad.
Okay,
stats.
no, that's fair. But Stafford also was not considered a legendary postseason guy. He went on the one run and then beat Burrow. Point I'm making is this: I think it shocks people when they see
because he was on a dying franchise for decades. A franchise that was doing nothing with the Detroit Lions, with terrible coaching. They finally turned it around by hitting the complete reset button, getting rid of everyone, and starting brand new. That wasn't on Stafford. Again, get out of here with that nonsense.
Wait, Joe Burrow has 9 playoff touchdowns? He has 5 playoff wins and 9 playoff touchdowns? I think that surprises people. A huge part of the...
I don't mean to keep pausing it, but again, let's go look at Patrick Mahomes. Those numbers right there for Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl numbers. So wouldn't that surprise anyone that Patrick Mahomes has all of these interceptions in the Super Bowls? and a low passer. I think his pass rating in Super Bowls is like 88, 85, I think it's under 90. I'd have to look that up. So wouldn't that surprise anyone? You can't just use blind stats and numbers. You actually have to know what you're looking at, how the games unfolded, what was asked of them, what was the weather like. The one playoff game Joe Burrow won, it was against the Bills in an all-out blizzard. So, again, what are we talking about? Burrow's claim to fame is not beating Patrick Mahomes. His claim to fame is being an elite quarterback. That's what it is. It's not that hard to understand.
Bengals on their postseason run was Lou Anarumo's defense. And you know what I mean? What they were able to do and the quarterbacks they were able to stifle, nothing more so than Mahomes in the second half of the AFC title game. I just think there's a lot, and I have been the guy. I was the guy pounding the table last year saying Burrow, or 2 years ago, was the guy who should be considered second best quarterback in football, and would have said the same thing last year probably if he hadn't gotten hurt. But there is a level of, well, you saw, Jake Browning play okay. You saw Burrow struggle mightily that opening month, and we say it, it was because of the calf. Yeah. I just think he just needs to come out and play really well. I just don't think he's as minted as some of these other guys are as far as his stature in the league. Mm-hmm. And the further you get away from the time they beat Mahomes, then I think there's the more, I agree. The playoff game.
Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to talk about quickly. One, I want to talk about what's at stake. And two, I just want to address directly right now what Nick is saying about him. He's pretty much trying to say that, hey, maybe Joe Burrow is not really that good. JCT Slice put this greatly. I wish I had his comment pulled up. He's a commenter on here, my dude. And I don't have it ready because I didn't think I was going to bring this up. Otherwise, I would have already had it queued up. But, he said, Nick has to be careful because he loves to bring down all these quarterbacks, talking about them all being scrubs. Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, that they're just not that good, that they're grossly overrated. If that's the case, then that means Patrick Mahomes is beating subpar quarterbacks. And that the only quarterback that was actually worth his salt, Tom Brady, he loses to. So which is it? Is Patrick Mahomes such a good quarterback that he's beating all these other quarterbacks? Or is it they're actually not that good? Because I said this before. He says Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good quarterback. Well, Patrick Mahomes beat him in the Super Bowl, so that's not impressive. He says Jalen Hurts is not that good of a quarterback. Boom. So that's not that impressive. He says Brock Purdy's not a good quarterback at all. That on any other team, he would be a Jimmy Garoppolo. Boom. That's not a good... Why is that impressive? So now other people said, well, okay, but listen, Patrick Mahomes had to beat these other quarterbacks to get to the Super Bowl. So he still had to beat these guys. Okay, well, he's saying that Joe Burrow might not be that special. So then that's not impressive. And then he's saying, Josh Allen's also not that special, that he's overrated. Okay, so then that's not that special. Lamar Jackson can't get the job done come time playoffs. Okay, so then beating Lamar's not that impressive. So what are we talking about? So then we're saying that the only good quarterback that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have gone up against is the Tom Brady, and he lost. So which is it? So I think that was a great point that JCT Slice brought up, and it's deadly accurate to me. Deadly accurate. Okay. But the other thing that I want to talk about is what is at stake for Joe Burrow. This is the way I see it. I think Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback, and I'm always sympathetic to players who get injured, whether football, basketball, baseball, whatever. I've had a lot of injuries in my life, which I've expressed to you guys in the past. So I am always sympathetic to that. That's why I'm sympathetic to the players like most recently talking a lot about Joel Embiid within the NBA playoffs. And some people said, well, you're making excuses for him and yada, yada, yada. And it's something that I understand very well. But that's the thing. I see Joe Burrow becoming similar to a Joel Embiid in that regard, where Joel Embiid's pure talent is one of the best in the NBA, one of the best in history. Again, I'm not saying top 3 or anything like that. I'm just saying he is an elite transformative player, but he can't stay healthy. And because he can't stay healthy, he also then can't stay healthy in the playoffs and have success in the playoffs. And that has been his problem. If he stayed healthy this last season, he had a runaway at winning MVP. I mean, he was doing historical things. His player efficiency rating was the highest of all time. He was putting up just insane points. He averaged something like, I don't even remember, 50 points against the 2 defensive players of the year candidates in Rudy Gobert and Wembanyama. I mean, like, he was just playing out of his mind. And of course, he got injured. And that, to me, is a lot of what's going on with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback. No question. But he's injured. And he keeps getting injured. So to me, what's at stake is for him to no longer be that automatic, well, we know Joe Burrow. Because every time everyone talks about the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and this is kind of what Nick Wright was talking about to a degree, where he was like, we all say Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Like, those are the 3 main names that people say. I understand some of these other quarterbacks are starting to come up, like a CJ Stroud, a Jordan Love, this, that. I get that, but it does seem like the vast majority, outside of the very big fans of an individual team or player, they all pretty much concede, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. It doesn't seem to be that controversial. I think if Joe Burrow gets injured, he loses that seat at that table. Not. It shouldn't happen that way. Just like how I think people should still be able to consider Joel Embiid as one of the best, but you have to admit that he gets injured. So that's the problem. No one likes to say that because the whole thing is when you say, well, when he's healthy, he's the best. And they're like, well, he's not healthy. Or people who are really haters are just like, yeah, that's an excuse. No, it's not an excuse. It's a justifiable reason. It's a real thing. When someone is injured, they are injured. So that's just the way it goes. And so that's how it is with Joe Burrow. And what will his injuries? Will his injuries bring his skill level down? I have zero idea. Nick Wright was trying to guess and pretty much trying to say that Joe Burrow will never be as good because of his unique injury that he has. And I call, you have zero idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea how severe the injury was, the type of surgery that was done, the type of advancements that were done within that specific injury. Joe Burrow's healing capabilities, his individual healing capabilities, you have no idea. So to even imply that that's a possibility or that that's likely to happen is absurd. And that is what he did. He did this like a month or 2 ago. So I'm not even going to guess because I have zero idea. There are sometimes routine surgeries that a lot of people could get. I had routine meniscus surgery. My knee has never been the same. You have other people who get meniscus surgery and it's like it's never happened to them. It's like they never got injured. So you have zero idea. I broke my clavicle. Every single doctor said it's going to heal fine. It's going to heal fine. It never healed. It's in still 2 pieces. It's called a non-union. And there was every doctor was like, you're so young and healthy and fit and this and that. What happened? I don't understand. So you never have any idea. So to me, though, for just the general consensus, the general casual fan, when we're just kind of talking in the comments and we're throwing out names and saying, when we're kind of saying, is Brock Purdy better than this quarterback? Is Jordan Love better than this quarterback? And anytime we're ever having those conversations, like I said, it's always, well, we know Patrick Mahomes, we know Josh Allen, we know Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow eventually loses that seat. If CJ Stroud balls out this season and makes it to the AFC Championship game, I think people are less likely to say Joe Burrow now. Now they're going to say CJ Stroud, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, right? I think that's just the way it goes. Just like how a lot of people talk about who's the top players in the NBA, not a lot of people will say Joel Embiid. Phillies fans will. Some analysts will, like Broussard will, and even actually Nick Wright. Nick Wright's a pretty big Joel Embiid fan. Like, he'll specify when healthy, Joel Embiid is a top player in the NBA, which is accurate. 100. Just ask LeBron James. He'll say it. So it's just the way it goes, and it's unfortunate, and that's what injuries do. We have this recency bias. We only know what's right in front of our face, right? If Josh Allen, like, people are all low on Josh Allen right now, but if Josh Allen balls out and wins a Super Bowl, everybody will be like, I told you he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And here's the other thing, and I'm going to write this in a comment to O'Shea later because I saw his comment, I didn't respond yet. But we were talking about how quarterbacks now are just rated as, like, essentially, like, are you a GOAT or are you not? Are you chasing GOAT status or are you not? And that's what it is right now. They're doing it with all these quarterbacks. Can Jordan Love surpass Patrick Mahomes? Can CJ Stroud pass Patrick Mahomes and chase Tom Brady? Like, those are the conversations. Caleb Williams, the expectations are that he will be better than Patrick Mahomes and try to also chase Tom Brady for GOAT status. That's what it's become. And the thing is that anything less than that is seen as a failure. And I think this is happening for a couple reasons. One, because we're so obsessed with the GOATs and championships, right? We've seen that in both basketball and football over the years, that it's all about, do you win multiple championships, yes or no? And when you have clear players like a Jordan or like a Tom Brady that has happened relatively recently and not like 50 years ago where it's like, well, that was so long ago. It's like, well, this is what it is. LeBron James got in the league and said, I have to win 7 championships. That's what his mind was. That's what Kobe's mentality. Well, Kobe, I think, wanted to win at least 6. Now, when Patrick Mahomes got in the league, it's like, I got to win as many Super Bowls as Tom Brady or more, right? And so that's what it comes. And anything less than that, well, then you are not the GOAT. You are not good. You are not elite. And anything less than just winning Super Bowls in general, then you're not good. And so many people now are on the Patrick Mahomes bandwagon and on supporting Patrick Mahomes, rightfully so. He's an unbelievable player and an incredibly likable guy, so he deserves all the fandom he gets. But because of that, we are now having, I feel like Patrick Mahomes arguably may be peak. He might be one of the, I don't want to say the first player, but probably is reaching the highest levels of success coinciding with his highest levels of fame and fandom, if you follow what I'm saying. And so because of that, there's such a large percentage of those fans that are like, well, look what my guy's doing. My guy's winning Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. That's what you need to do in order to be elite. You got to just keep going to Super Bowls and AFC championship games nonstop. So Joe Burrow, you're not elite. Josh Allen, you're not elite. You guys are. Aaron Rodgers, he's not elite. You only won 1 Super Bowl. And that's not how football used to be considered. For many years, even with Tom Brady having multiple Super Bowls over an Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning, people still said, well, maybe Peyton Manning's actually probably a better quarterback. Or Aaron Rodgers, for years, it was seen he's a better quarterback than Tom Brady. Yes, Tom Brady wins, but Aaron Rodgers is actually the better pure talent. Now, no one says that. No one has that conversation. Tom Brady is seen as the undisputed GOAT. So, to me, it's just really interesting that that's how the conversations has taken. And I think it's because a combination of fans, because it's simpler, and media, because it's simpler. Because it's just this number of Super Bowls, this number of NBA Finals, this number of MVPs. It becomes very binary. People always say, my GOAT has 6 rings. How many does your GOAT have? Right? And that's just, boom, mic drop. It's very easy. It's very simple. We don't have to go into any of the numbers. We don't have to go into any of the nuances. It's just, my guy has 6, your guy has 4. My guy has 7, your guy has 2. My guy has 8, you guy has 1. Like, and that's it. It's just this number's bigger than that number. It's something that's very easy for people to understand. So everyone just runs with it. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys think is at stake for Joe Burrow this season? Whether he succeeds or fails. Do you think if he succeeds, then it'll continue to build who he is and solidify who he is as an elite quarterback in the NFL? Or do you think if he gets injured or just doesn't compete well enough, do you think that brings him down and he will kind of lose the elite status? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.